يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى صدق الله العلي العظيم. Please recite the salawat on the Prophet. For the last few nights that we've been here in this gathering at the Husayniyah, where we get together to talk about Imam al-Husayn alayhi salatu salam, where we get together with our families, with ourselves, when we sit and we speak about and we listen to what is said about Imam al-Husayn alayhi salatu salam, the ayah that I've chosen to speak about is the ayah of Al-Mawadda from Surah Shura, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet to remind us and remind all the Muslimin that he, the Prophet, does not want anything in reward or recompense except for the love of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu salam. Please recite the salawat Muhammad wa alayhi. And today would be the last night for a long speech, because tomorrow is the day of Ashura and tonight is the Shab Ashur. Many things have been said in this regard, many things have been spoken about. I've tried to the best of my ability to transfer what I can, and for the rest of it I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq, to give us the understanding, to bless us with the rizq of understanding and knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اتقوا الله يعلمكم الله. Be God wary and Allah will teach you. Be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah will teach you. There is a hadith which I shall talk about where the Imam alayhi salatu salam approached and he is asked, it says, what did the people do when there were gaps? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent messengers. So you had Adam, and then you had Nuh, and you had Ibrahim, and then you had a chain of prophets. The last of them being the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, Muhammad al-Mustafa. Before him Nabi Isa, before him Nabi Musa. But sometimes there would be a gap between prophets. Sometimes their tribe would be away from the tribe of the Prophet. Sometimes you are located in a place which is away from the Prophet. He asked Imam Ali alayhi salatu salam, he says, what did the people do? He says the people followed what they knew was from a Prophet, and Allah taught them. Allah was their teacher. Allah gave them ilham to do what they're supposed to do. اتقوا الله يعلمكم الله. How is this possible? How does Allah teach? Go back to the Quran and you pick up the surah of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, surah where Allah talks about Nabi Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah is talking about Nabi Musa, the story of Nabi Musa. And you would think, oh, this is a story about the Prophet. But no, what I want to bring your attention towards is not Musa, the Prophet of Allah, is the mother of Musa. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهَا. And Allah revealed upon her. Who? The mother of Musa. The mother of a prophet. Why? Why was this revelation to the mother of Musa? Because her intention was to protect her baby. Her intention was to also do as she's commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She came to a point, she arrived at a place where she is now stuck. She has a baby and you have an army looking for children of Bani Israel to kill them and butcher them. Any woman who's pregnant was killed. Any child that came into this world was killed. Because why? Fir'aun had a dream and he was told, if you would not kill the children of Bani Israel, one of them would come up and topple his throne. This is the story mentioned in the Quran. Now this woman, fearing for her child, decides she needs to save her baby. Allah says we gave wahi on her. We gave ilham on her. Khidr, another example, a God-fearing man who then became the teacher of Nabi Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. How did he reach that maqam? How did Khidr Nabi reach that maqam? He was God-fearing. Imam Ali gives us a secret of how we arrive at knowledge that Allah then teaches us. He says, ittaqullah, be God-fearing. Allah will teach you. How? And this is experiential knowledge. When you sit with the ulama, when you sit with the people of God, not only ulama, people who are lovers of Imam Hussein, people who've experienced life, people who've lived their life in love with Sayyid al-Shuhada, they experience this on a daily basis. You wake up one morning and a thought enters your mind and you decide, this is what I need to do today. Who controls those thoughts? वो जो दिल में ख्याल आता है वो कौन दिल में ख्याल डालता है? मुक़ल्लिब अल-क़ुलूब किसकी ज़ात है? Who controls what enters your heart and exits your heart? There's a point where you choose and decide what enters your heart. But once you've given your heart to Hussein, then who chooses what enters your heart and exits your heart? There's hours and hours of speeches that can be done, hours and hours, and pages written upon pages to read about the experiences, read about the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Ayah of the Quran. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. Mathalu nurihi. The example, Allah likens the example of His light as if in a lamp. You know, what is a mash'al that you carry around in your hand? A torch maybe, but the old school one, where you light a candle inside it. A lantern. So this is crown engagement. Allah yasallimkum. A lantern. If the glass of the lantern is dusty, so a lantern is a candle inside or a wick in oil, yes? And you light it, and then it's surrounded by glass around. If the glass of the lantern is dirty, if the glass of the lantern is not clear, if the glass of the lantern is covered in dust, or it's covered in clay, or it's painted on, how much light emanates then from the lantern? That lantern is useless, because you've lit a candle inside a box which the light does not emanate. The heart of the mu'min, qalbul mu'min haramullah. Understand this. The qalb of the mu'min, the qalb of the believer is the haram of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The cleaner your heart is, the more Allah's nur will emanate from your heart. The cleaner your heart is, the more the nur of Allah will emanate from your heart. Because you're created to worship Him. You cannot worship Him unless you know Him. And when you know Him, you become God-fearing. When you become God-fearing, you understand what is to be done and you understand what is not to be done. Because everything you do in line with the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Muhammad and al-Muhammad, you clean your heart. And where your heart is clean, the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will shine. Then you're told, then you jo ilham hota hai, then you're told, you know in your heart that this is what Allah wants from you. But how do we distinguish what is entering my heart is from Rahman or from Shaitan? This is another question. I have a thought that enters my mind. I have a thought that occurs in my heart. How am I able to distinguish that the thought that enters my heart is from Allah, the Rahman, or Iblis, the Shaitan? The key here and the crux here of it is knowledge and ilm. Only through ilm, only through knowledge are you able to distinguish what I am thinking. Is it in line with the teachings of Muhammad and al-Muhammad? When it is from Rahman. When it's not, it's from the Shaitan. قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. When you're away from your Imam, when you're away from the Ahlul Bayt, when you're away from the Prophet, and that distance is a distance of time. Not that you choose to be away from the Ahlul Bayt. Not that you choose to be separate from them. No. You're here and they're somewhere else. The Imam says what? Ittaqullah. Clean yourself. Clean your hearts. Let the waridat of Allah, let what Allah wants to teach you enter your heart. And when you read a riwayat, when you read the ayat of the Quran, you know exactly that voice, where it comes from. from the Rahman or from Shaitan. When you love Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu salam, it is impossible for Imam Hussein not to love you back. This is a house of karam and sharafa. If you love one of them, all of them love you. This is the household of Muhammad and al-Muhammad alayhi salatu salam. What I'd like to bring attention of all those listening right now is a point to ponder when you go home. And this is specifically for the children, so they understand. When we look at a qadiyya, when we look at a question, when we look at a problem and we're identifying a solution for that problem, before we're able to answer the question, first we set a framework through which we shall approach the problem. First we identify the nature of the problem, then we set a framework, and then we approach the problem. If somebody is asking you a mathematical question, you need to have a background in mathematics. Your experience in biology will not help you answer that mathematical question. If you're looking at something in physics, I'm trying to water the equation down so people can relate and understand. Every problem, every set of problems that comes your way, any question that arises in your mind has a set framework that you use to approach that question. Now my question is this: if I have designated and if I have arrived at a point where I say the only thing I consider to be knowledge is what I can sense with my five senses. The only thing that is true is what I can sense with my five senses. If I see it, it exists. If I hear it, it exists. If it can be tasted, it exists. If it can be touched, it exists. Yes? And you say anything that falls in these five is what is ilm. Everything beyond that is what? Does not exist. Where do the angels sit then? Where do the jinnat sit then? Where do the malaika sit then? Where is then the heavens? Where is then the earth? Where is then the hell? You know what? Because you've limited knowledge, because you've created a limited frame of work. You said, this is the framework I work with. This is my worldview. I use my worldview to approach different things in life. What you've done is you've only kept access to the mahsusat, those things that can be sensed. Ali is telling you something else. Ali ibn Abi Talib says, I do not worship a God I cannot see. How do you see your God, Ali? How do you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It says, with the eyes of my heart. So the heart have eyes. The heart can sense. Not on a level that the eyes can sense, but beyond that sense. The heart senses beyond that. If you restrict yourself to a framework and you quantify knowledge to only come through that framework, you've closed yourself up to many things. Then you start defining. I know this is a little dry, but needs to be understood. You need to understand the maqamat of ilm so I can take you to where I need to get to at the end. Please recite salawat Muhammad wa Muhammad. If your framework is limited to the mahsusat, only that can be sensed, that anything that cannot be sensed will never enter your data bank. Simplified. If the only sensor you have, so imagine you have a sensor in your hand which only senses what can be observed tangibly. You can only observe in this world what is tangible. But the Prophet says, no. Add another sensor to it, which is then connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through wahi. What you've done is you've expanded your pool of knowledge. Yes? When you're only relying on the senses, your pool of knowledge is limited. When you've connected it to wahi, you've expanded your pool of knowledge. You may not understand it right away, but let it sit and it'll start making sense. Because the wahi will pull your intellect in one direction. When you allow your heart to connect to the wahi and the kalam and Muhammad and al-Muhammad, all of these things will start making sense. This is the nature of the wahi. This is the nature of the teachings of Muhammad and al-Muhammad. You clean yourself, you cleanse yourself. Once you clean yourself, you cleanse yourself, you work on yourself. Nothing comes to insan easily. Everything needs to be worked upon. There is mahana required. There is zahma involved. There is work required to get to a maqam and a position. But Allah also says, لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. If you haven't strived for it, if you haven't worked for it, it won't come to you. The Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wasalam will tell you, yes, we live in this world. Yes, we walk like the other people walk. But look at Salman, look at Abu Dhar, look at all the ashab of the Imam alayhimu salatu wasalam. They exist in this plane and they communicate with you, but their souls are on the arsh. They live, they dwell over there. The earth does not harm them because they understand the finite and the limited nature of this earth. The Ahlul Bayt can give you this. This is the gift of the Ahlul Bayt. Life, not only does life become meaningless, I don't say life is meaningless, no. Life is meaning. Allah would not send you here unless there was a purpose. So when you define your framework and you broaden it through wahi and connect yourself to the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, then you've expanded your pool of knowledge and now you've opened yourself up to understanding many things that the other would not understand. Let the Ahlul Bayt do that for you. Open that aspect of your heart and soul. Why do I say this? Why do I say this? Because children, when they go to school and they meet with different people, they're asked different questions. And more so by the Muslim brothers, because not everyone sits in majalis, not everybody reads the ahadith of the Ahlul Bayt, not everyone is acquainted with the musibah and the fadila of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So questions arise and they ask questions. Says, how do you attribute this to Ali ibn Abi Talib? A mu'jiza. We should go back to the Quran, Isa can do it. How do you attribute this mu'jiza to Imam Hassan alayhi salam? He says, go back to the Quran, Musa is doing it. There's precedence in the Quran for each and everything Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam can do, will do, have done. The Quran will make ishara to each and everything. The Quran will point to each and every thing, the sifat of the Ahlul Bayt, the characteristics of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Because they're not separate. Inni tarikum fikum thaqalan, I'm leaving behind myself, behind you, with you, two weighty things, Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. Keep them together, you're guided. Remove one from the other, hold on to one of them, you're misguided. Go to the Quran, have a question, come to the Ahlul Bayt. Listen to the words of the Ahlul Bayt, read the words of the Ahlul Bayt, you have a question, go back to the Quran. They will tell you exactly how to understand the other. You're not left lost. You're not left lost. And when you find yourself stuck, make istighasa and tawassul to the Imam of your time. Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. Because no man who has ikhlas in his heart and wants to move towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes unanswered, unrewarded. It is against the system designed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It goes against the value system that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want something and you really want something, if you want love and you really want love, open your heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let Allah to guide you to love. Because innal insana ala nafsi basir. Every man, each man knows where they stand. I know where I stand, you know where you stand. Everybody knows where they are. I don't need to tell you who you are, where you are. Everybody knows who they are. How mukhlis, how much ikhlas they have. If you really want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you really want to live a life that is God-fearing, if you would really want to live a life that has the love of Muhammad and al-Muhammad alayhi salam, you know exactly where you stand. Because that ikhlas will drive you to the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So what was the takeaway here? The framework that exists, the paradigm in which you exist. Once you've understood that paradigm, once you've defined for yourself what you define as knowledge and where you get knowledge from, when you've identified who you're taking knowledge from, then you start growing. Then you start growing. That is why Imam Sajjad alayhi salatu salam, please say salawat. When he talks about Abul Fadl Abbas, he said, Madita ala basiratin. It says, you lived a life, wisdom is a smaller word, wisdom is hikmah. Basiratin is insight. Ya Abul Fadl Abbas, you lived with insight. What does insight here mean? You know full well who you were following, where you are, who the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you made ita'ah of him and you followed him with no questions asked. The first stage, and we spoke about this when we talked about the story of Harun al-Makki. The first stage What does the aql do? Pleasure and self-preservation. The first stage is to identify that this is the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once you've identified that this person is the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you do not ask questions. You do as the Imam tells you. Yes, how you deal with riwayat, and there's many questions with the riwayat, that's a separate topic. But once you've identified this is the Imam's word and this is what the Imam wants from you, you follow without question. Because you live in an understanding that anything that comes from this door, anything that comes from this house is from the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People ask a question. It says, why did Imam al-Hasan sign a peace treaty, and why did Imam Hussein alayhi salatu salam choose to pull his sword out against the army of Yazid? Is it not true that all of them are Muhammad? Is it not true that awwaluna Muhammad, awsatuna Muhammad, akhiruna Muhammad, kulluna Muhammad? Yes. Then why did Imam Hassan do such and Imam Hussein do such? Somebody asked Imam al-Hussein this question. It says, your brother did sulh. Why are you not doing sulh? When you type, if those really interested in looking at the political situation, what the circumstance was, why Imam Hassan had to do sulh, most of it is analogies or analysis from people looking at it from a bird's eye view. It says, maybe this reason, maybe that reason, maybe this reason. I will give you the answer Imam gave, and if you were to understand it through the worldview I've tried to explain earlier, you'd understand it very easily. Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam says, my brother Hassan did sulh because Allah commanded him to do sulh. I fought because Allah commanded me to fight. Tamam. No questions asked. Hassan was told by Allah and the Prophet, when this happens, you sign a peace treaty. Hassan said yes. And Imam Hussein said, I was told by Allah and the Prophet, when this happens, you fight. I fought. Tamam. No questions asked. You know who lived like that? Abbas ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. Abu al-Fadl Abbas. He lived this and he showed you, and you've seen it in history, and you know this to be true. This was how Abbas lived. Walking with Hussein everywhere Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib went. He never walked ahead of his master. If he did, it was only to protect him. Abbas's life is an example of how one lives with their Imam. He is the example set by the takwini irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because nobody follows a Ma'soom like Abbas followed a Ma'soom. And why would he not? Why would he not? When in the ziyarah, Imam Sadiq taught his Sahabi, says, when you go to Abu al-Fadl and you give salam to him, say, Assalamu alayka ya mustakmil al-iman. You know what istikmal of iman means? See, sometimes I'll tell you what Abu al-Fadl is, and then Abu al-Fadl will be limited to my knowledge pool. My intellect has a capacity. That capacity has a had. That had has a limitation, yes? How much I understand has a limitation. So when I will tell you who Abu al-Fadl is subject to my subjective understanding of why I understand Abu al-Fadl. That's why I won't speak about Abu al-Fadl. I have no right, this is not my place. I go to the Imam and says, Imam, you tell me what Abu al-Fadl is. Because the Imam will tell you through the ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not through my ilm. He says he was mustakmil al-iman. Mustakmil means Iman has levels. Iman is graded. There's gradations to Iman. There's 0 and there's 100. So Kamal is to get from the maqam of 0 to get to the 100th level. So you're full in Iman. Ali ibn Abi Talib is not mustakmil Iman. Ali ibn Abi Talib is kulli Iman. Ali ibn Abi Talib is Iman. When that war happened, when that battle happened, the Prophet says, Barazal Iman kulla. All of Iman is going to the battlefield right now. Ali ibn Abi Talib is all of Iman. So when the Prophet said Ali is all of Iman and Abu al-Fadl is mustakmil Iman, you know what you understand? Ali is Iman. Let's say if it has 100 grades, Abul Fadl is on the 100th level of that iman. He's completed he has absorbed in himself all of Ali ibn Abi Talib. If Ali ibn Abi Talib is kulli iman, he's all of iman, and Abul Fadl Abbas is mustaq iman. What he's done is he's took all of Ali ibn Abi Talib and he's removed his hawiyah. Abul Fadl does not exist. Ali exists through Abul Fadl. He's gone through all the levels of iman. Why Abul Fadl? How did he get to this maqam? You've heard of this incident. When Az-Zahra Salamullah alayha left this world, when Bibi passed away and she left this world as a martyr, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, he told Aqil, he asked Aqil, he's like, find for me a woman who shall bear me a son, simplifying it, someone like Abbas. Find me someone who will give me a child like Abul Fadl Abbas. I need him for Karbala. Yes, everyone's heard the story. This is nothing new. He gets married to this woman. The narrations talk about, they say, her name is Fatima as well. Yes, you've heard this? Nothing new? She comes and she says, do not call me Fatima. Do not call me Fatima, because every time you call me Fatima, the children, they might think of their own mother. I am only a kaniz. I am only a subject. I am only your servant, O Amir al-Mu'mineen. Give me another laqab. Give me another name. You've heard this? Yes? You've heard this incident, right? Do not call me Fatima, because it will affect the children in the household. Give me another laqab. You know what she's done? Do you know what she's done? If you were to take everything away that describes you, or that is your characteristic, if you were to take everything away, the only thing left to identify you is your name. The only identifier is your name. She gave up her identity for the sake of Hassan and Hussein. She gave herself up, her identity. So there's nothing left to identify the mother of Abbas. So now a child who is raised by this woman, how would he then not be Abul Fadl Abbas? It doesn't start one night. This is tarbiyah from Baneen Salamullahi alayha. She chose to give her identity. You've been known by a certain name for so many years in your life. You decided to give it up. Why? So that Hassan and Hussein and Zainab Salamullahi alayhi can be happy. Why would Allah not gift her someone like Abul Fadl Abbas? Abul Fadl has grown up in a lap like this. From childhood he's learned this. He's learned, because Ali is Iman, and I'm the one who's completed all the levels of Iman, I live like Ali. When Ali did not care for his life, and the only hum and gham and only thing that was important for Ali ibn Abi Talib was the that of Rasulullah and the protection of Rasulullah, Abbas knows exactly whose model to follow. He says, Hussein ibn Ali, I shall be you. I shall be with you like my father was with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa. This is where he's learned. This is Abul Fadl Abbas. So the framework that exists with Abul Fadl Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam, the framework that he exists and he understands, is this framework exactly. When you asked, why did Hassan make sulh and why did Hussein make qiyam? Imam Hassan was asked. The Imam alayhi salatu wasalam responds and says, am I not a hujjah upon you after the Prophet and after my father? He says, yes, you're a hujjah upon us. If I am a hujjah upon you, if I sign of Allah subhanahu ta'ala on you, is it not then wajib for you to follow what I do? He says, yes, it is wajib for us to follow what I do. He said, then I've decided to make sulh. I have decided to make sulh. End question. He says, when Khidr killed that boy, you know the story, when Khidr killed a child, it says Musa was confused, asking questions. When Khidr built that wall, Musa had another question to ask. Yes? Be patient with me. You do not know Allah's maslihah. I know Allah's maslihah. Your test is here. Your test with your Imam is exactly the test of Musa with Khidr. You may not understand what your Imam is doing. You may not always understand what Imam is doing, but you know what he does is because he's a hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to follow him, no questions asked. This is not an easy task. This is not an easy task. Many people have fallen, many people have failed. Come up to the Imam and says, Hussein, why do you leave Medina? Try talking to them. Try striking a deal with them. Imam Hussein says, no. I have my grandfather's orders. I will leave Medina. You don't question the hujjah of your time. You don't question the Imam of your time when he's living. Whatever he says, you say yes. That is why everybody in their place, and Abu al-Fadl Abbas has his own maqam, his own station, his own place. Because Abbas never questioned. Never did he question. I don't know how I talk about this person, Abu al-Fadl Abbas. When each and every Imam, when they were told that, oh Imam, we're going to Karbala for ziyarah, he says, when you visit Imam al-Hussein, go visit my uncle Abbas. When you visit Imam al-Hussein, go visit my uncle Abbas, because Abbas was with our grandfather when nobody was Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. Do you know that the people came to Abu al-Fadl on a night as such, the 9th of Muharram, the 8th of Muharram, and they said, Abbas, it is called we have an aman nama for you. We have brought for you a letter that if you were to accept and agree the terms and conditions, we will spare your life. We will let you go. Abu al-Fadl says, how dare you bring this up to me? How dare you bring this up to me? Do you not know I'm loyal to my master? It's easier said, sahalun ala lisan. It's easier heard. But in the heat of battle, when people are looking for any and all reason to escape, this man brought an aman nama and he says, Abu al-Fadl, I have this letter for you. If you were to sign this by command of the Caliph, you shall be free to leave. Abu al-Fadl says no. Each and every place Abu al-Fadl will try it, Abu al-Fadl will test it. Each and every maqam in his life, and he stood the test. And he answered the call. Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam is a role model, an example for people to come till the end of time. The Aman Nama is an example of Abu al-Fadl's loyalty. If everything that has been said in the last 9 nights were to be put together, and you really want to see who fit the role and who was able to pay the debt of Ajr al-Risalat, is none other than Abu al-Fadl Abbas, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. अगर किसी ने हक अजर रिसालत का अदा किया है तो अब्बास इब्न अली के अलावा कोई भी नहीं। तमाम माना में हक अदा करने वाला मेरा और आपका मौला अबुल फज़ल अब्बास। The Imam alayhi salatu wasalam says there's a maqam, there's a station special only for Abu al-Fadl Abbas. Where? In the heavens. Nobody can touch that station. Nobody can reach that height. Nobody will be there. Why? What have you done, Abu al-Fadl? Why? You know why? Abu al-Fadl is with Imam al-Hussein since he was born, yes? Imam Hussein is the elder brother, Abu al-Fadl the younger brother. He's been with him, with his brother, ever since he was born. Do you know in Karbala, every time somebody came with a proposal and everybody asked Abu al-Fadl, should we do this next? Shall we do this next? You know what Abu al-Fadl would say? Let me go back, ask Imam Hussein, come back and give you an answer. Do you think Abu al-Fadl does not know the answer to the question? This is Ali's son. This is Ali's son. Does Ali's son not know what the next move is? Has Imam Hussein not already told him what our next move is? That Hussein's brother not know what they have to do next? Should he respond with yes in the affirmative or no? Does Abbas not know? But every time he was approached and he was asked a question, he says, wait, let me go ask my master Hussein and come back and give you an answer. He's at the maqam of ta'ah, there, that level of ta'ah. Abu al-Fadl is no common man. This son of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam is no common man. Abbas made sure all of his brothers from his mother were killed before he died. He made sure All three of his brothers were killed before, in front of his eyes, before he was sent to the. Who does that? Only Abbas can do that. He had to ensure that everything Banin has will go fidwa for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. Hussein is important. Abbas is not important. The other brothers are not important. Banin has children is not important. The mother, the children of Fatima Zahra should be protected. Abbas and his brothers may be ransom for them. Each and every event, he would put himself first and Imam Hussein later. Anytime someone would come with a proposal, he would go and says, let me ask my Mawla Hussein, let me ask my Master Hussein. Abbas is teaching you how it is to behave and be. Going back to narrations, many traditions go back. Abul Fadl Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam. You know when I talked about that ayah where you clean your heart and Allah manifests? If love could be embodied in a person, that would be the Qamar Bani Hashim shining like Abul Fadl Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam. The Qamar Bani Hashim. You know what Qamar Bani Hashim means? When it is dark and gloomy and there is no guidance and no light, and people feel lost and troubled in the dark light, lost in the desert, not knowing which direction to go to, where is the next heading, and Abul Fadl shows up and peace settles in the heart of the children of the Ahlul Bayt. That is Qamar Bani Hashim. They look at his face and they find peace. They know they're okay because Abbas is around. They know they'll be fine because Abul Fadl is there to protect them. The women can sleep easy. The children can rest easy. They know they'll be looked after because Abbas, Abul Fadl, Qamar Bani Hashim is around. But there comes a time on the day of Ashura where everybody is slaughtered, everybody is cut up, everybody is killed, everybody is massacred, one after the other. And as the narration and the narrative goes, the only one remaining is Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam from the Shuhada and Abul Fadl Abbas alayhi salatu wasalam. Abul Fadl comes to Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam and he says, Sayyidi wa Mawlai, do I have permission? Do I have your permission to enter the battlefield? Because now I think it is time for them to learn a lesson. Let Abbas go and teach them a lesson. Let me go and fight. Let me go and fight. You know Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam says? It says, Abul Fadl, you're the flag bearer of my army. As long as the flag remains, the enemy stays away and they know because the flag bearer is alive, they cannot progress, they cannot come forward and attack the camps. You are the flag bearer, Abul Fadl. You are the leader of my army. The riwayat say Imam Abul Fadl, Hadrat Abul Fadl alayhi salatu wasalam, he looks to his right and then he looks to his left. He says, where is this army you talk about? Ya Mawla. This army I am supposedly the commander of, where is this army? Where is Ali al-Akbar? Where is Qasim? Where is John? Where is Habib? Where are Awan and Muhammad? Where is this army? It is only myself and yourself, Ya Sayyidi wa Mawla. There's nobody else here that Abbas is to live for. If I have my ijazah, I shall go and fight. Imam Hussein turns to him and says, Abul Fadl, do you hear these voices from our tents? Al-Atash, 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 Al-Atash. He says, yes. He says, then go get some water. Go and bring some water to the camps. So the children of the Prophet, the children of Az-Zahra, the children of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa they have water. Go Abbas, go get some water. Abul Fadl alayhi salatu wasalam. You know this alam and the mashq, we spoke about it in the first night and I want to bring it back tonight. This alam has a mashq on it. It has a water carrier. The connection is ajib between Abul Fadl and As-Sukaina salamullah alayha. The child of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, she has a very special attachment to this uncle of hers, Abul Fadl Abbas. Because Abbas is one of those people, when he promises, he fulfills his promise. If he's told the children of Bani Hashim that I will get you water. They're standing lined up at the door or the entrance of the tent, vessels in hand, bowls in hand, pitchers in hand, glasses in hand, waiting for that Parcham Bardar, waiting for that alam to show up in the horizon, knowing that because the alam is here, the alamdar is here, and water is soon to be with us. Abul Fadl says, yes. Sayyidi Maulai, I shall do as I'm told. He gets on his horse and he heads towards Farat. Abul Fadl is at the Shatt al-Farat, he's at the water bank. And he fights. He's the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He has Hamza as example, he has Ali as example, he has Ja'far Tayyar. This is Abul Fadl Abbas. He fights and he gets to the bank and he makes his way to the bank. Nobody dare come in front of him when he's at the bank. He holds water in his palms. He lifts the water and he throws it away. He takes the water in his hand to show, I can do this. I have the right. I have the power to do this. But he throws it away to show his loyalty to his master, Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. Because my master is thirsty, Abbas will not drink. So one was a show of strength that we have arrived. I am here. This belongs to me now. And then he threw the water away to show that, yes, this belongs to me, but I don't belong to myself. I belong to Hussein. Lessons in every aspect of this man's life. Lessons in ita'ah of the Imam. Lessons in how to be with the Imam. Lessons on how to behave with the Imam. Who comes first? The Imam always comes first. Who will teach you this? Only Abul Fadl. Manifesting it completely how it is supposed to manifest. I came and I collected the water to show you because this belongs to me. And I threw it away to show you that I don't belong to myself. I belong to my master Hussein. And when he's turning back on the way back, the riwayah talks about a maqam when he's passing by the Nakhlistan, where it is surrounded by trees. The arrows start coming. Arrow after arrow after arrow. It was such that there were so many arrows and shots fired. Abul Fadl Abbas, the Rawi says, one time it looked as if the daylight had turned into night. So many arrows covering the sky. And all piercing either his horse or himself. His eye was injured, his chest was injured, his throat was injured, his thigh was injured, his arms were injured. Abbas was pierced and cut up in each and every place imaginable. This is one man taking the arrows of an army. This is one man taking the arrows of an army. But he has one thing in mind. This water needs to get to Sakina Salamun alayha. I need to get this water to the daughter of Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. So he on his horse and he's gunning towards the tents of Imam Hussein. The riwayah says somebody attacks him on his head. Abul Fadl Abbas. And Abul Fadl Abbas, I don't know how the Maqtal reads it, but I can only imagine what must have happened. The only thing the Maqtal says, Imam Hussein is standing at the door of the tent, and all he hears is, you can cut my right hand, but I will not stop. You will cut my right hand, but I will not stop moving and living for Hussein ibn Ali. And then all Imam Hussein hears is, you can cut my left hand, and I will not stop progressing towards Hussein ibn Ali and defending the son of Zahra Salamul alayha. His right hand is chopped off, he loses his left hand, but he's still moving towards the tents. Abul Fadl is still moving towards the tents. Nothing is breaking his ambition. Nothing is stopping his resolve. He is charging towards the tents. But one time the narrator says, an arrow comes flying and it pierces the mush that is carried, and the water starts flowing away. That is when Abbas's horse loses speed and Abbas slows down. What now is the point of Abbas returning to the camp when there is no water to take for Sakina Salamul alayha, when there is no water to take for the children of Hussein alayhi salam? Why would Abbas now return? Abbas says, Assalamu alayka ya Sayyidi wa Mawlai. Peace be upon you, Master, O Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. Peace be upon you from Abul Fadl Abbas. My salam to you, O son of Zahra. They say Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu charged towards the field, to the battlefield. He sits and he's got Abul Fadl in his lap, and he's talking to his brother. There's two reasons they say Abul Fadl, two reasons. The narration said that Abul Fadl said, people ask, why is he buried so far away? There's two reasons he's buried far away. One of them, he says, because I am embarrassed to go back to the tents, because I'm embarrassed. I made a promise and I was not able to fulfill that promise because of these enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other reason it says is like Sayyidi wa Maulai. Since the morning till Asr time, all you have done, Ya Hussein, all you have done is you've carried the janazah. You've carried all the killed, all those friends of you, all those children of you, who've carried them from what? From the battlefield to the tent. Sayyidi, I'm the last one. Because I know if you carry me to the tent, your body will lay in the battlefield. And Abbas would not want to be inside a tent when his Mawla is outside in the battlefield and nobody to carry his janazah. Please let me be here, Ya Sayyidi wa Mawlai. This is a request from Abul Fadl Abbas. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره.